John Middlekauff, former NFL scout. All right, let's do a little NFL. The draft is coming up in a couple of weeks. So I was sitting with a Packer fan the other night having dinner. My wife and I were with some acquaintances in Chicago, and they were talking about Aaron Rodgers. And two people at the table said, "Well, why hasn't he signed?" And I said, "Well, I think Aaron deep down knows Pittsburgh's fool's gold. DK Metcalf, George Pickens, a lot of drama. They can't get their O line right. They lost Najee Harris and their left tackle. I don't know if the offensive coordinator is Aaron's type of guy. So I think Aaron, if he thought Pittsburgh was the deal, he would sign with Pittsburgh. And my take on Aaron is he really wants to sign with Minnesota. And Minnesota right now has kind of bounced around and been a little ambiguous with J.J. McCarthy injury wise. But I'll just ask you is I think if Aaron wanted to sign, he would. And I think he knows Pittsburgh's fraught with issues. Defensive culture, defensive spending, two high maintenance receivers, left tackle gone. They've had a bad line for 7 years. Why do you think he
I remember
hasn't
you
signed?
had Danny Parkins on probably a month ago, and he thought that Aaron was going to sign at Pat McAfee's deal in Pittsburgh. And at first, I thought he was crazy. And then the closer we got, I'm like, yeah, maybe it's going to happen. So I kind of expected him just to announce at that thing, and then it
Yeah.
doesn't happen. And you're like, well, maybe this is not inevitable. And like you said, Kevin O'Connell, I think he said at the owners' meetings that two things can be true. We believe in JJ McCarthy, and we'd also not be doing our job if we weren't showing interest in Aaron Rodgers.
Right.
Well, they get a tryout period, at least physically, how it's going to look with JJ McCarthy and OTA. So if you're Rodgers, it's like, well, what is Pittsburgh going to do? Even if Shador Sanders falls to them, they still wouldn't be interested in bringing me in. They want to win next year. Shador doesn't guarantee that, right? So he actually has a weird amount of leverage over Mike Tomlin in Pittsburgh. I mean, that can't feel great if you're a Steelers, like Aaron Rodgers, but he has no
Right.
leverage in Minnesota, which is clearly his best spot, unless OTAs, the coach goes, I don't know. He still looks skinny. Maybe the offense doesn't look as smooth. Maybe physically he just doesn't look right. So I think he can
Right. Right.
gauge if there are reports after a couple of those OTA practices, which again I'm not acting like those are the end all be all, but from a physical standpoint, we saw him walk the sideline against the Lions. He looked like he weighed 175 pounds, and he had
Yeah.
needed multiple knee surgeries. I understand, and listen, I like the player as well, but you can't go off just one good experience in a preseason game for a team that, if you just removed the quarterback for every team in the NFL, Minnesota undoubtedly would be a top five pick of a roster team. You would take them probably
Right.
above like the Chiefs or the Bills, but quarterback matters.
Well, they just revamped their. I mean, the Bears and the Vikings both real upgrades on their O line.
But
So we know we like Minnesota's coach and running back and wide receivers and tight end. They went and shored up their offensive line. So I think it's one of the more attractive places in the
for
league
sure.
for a
So to me,
quarterback.
if you have any reservations, I also think if I'm Kevin O'Connell, I go, Aaron, we want you. And I'd even do it before OTAs, but we're offering you a veteran minimum, no guaranteed. Like, you've already made 500, $400 million on and off the field. Who knows how much you've made? But we're not guaranteeing you anything. So if things ever get weird or it doesn't fit, we can both move on. You're not cost if you really want this because you're no dummy. You know this is by far your best opportunity. But like I don't know what Pittsburgh is even offering them 1 year, $20 million or something. Like the Minnesota wouldn't even entertain something like that. 1 year, couple $1 million. And if things don't work after training camp, we can both go our separate ways. But we're not being stuck. But I wouldn't fault them for being interested just because we have seen enough now with, most of these rookie quarterbacks go to really shitty teams, right? So it's like, even if you have a bad year, whatever. Trevor Lawrence's first year with Urban Meyer, he got like a pass. It's happened twice now. A guy's been drafted really high and gone to a team with like legit playoff expectations. Trey Lance was higher than Caleb, but Caleb had pretty big expectations. And then it's a lot of pressure, a lot of stuff going on. That is JJ McCarthy. I know he's a second year player, but he's technically like Blake Griffin, right? He didn't play his rookie year because he tore his knee. You're a rookie, on the field. Like that, you can't have much more pressure as a first time starting quarterback that's 22 years old that's never played. Kevin O'Connell is not Kyle Shanahan. You watch him in the game against Detroit and the playoff game, he's calling pass plays. He's McVay. He
Yeah.
wants to, and Andy, he wants to pass. JJ played in a running offense. Remember when they beat Penn State and
That's
they
right.
didn't they didn't pass the ball in the second half? Like the Michigan handoff, 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 play D. That's what he's used to doing.
No, yeah, I think there's real concerns there, and I think Aaron's smart to just I would wait till the draft's over. I want to see where the
Sure.
chips fall. I don't want to get burned like Kirk Cousins, and I'm going to sit around if I'm Aaron, and if I don't get the right offer, I got 200 million bucks
I
in the
think
bank. I'm
Minnesota
done.
definitely is still on the
I want.
table. There's
So do I. Sorry to interrupt this great video, but please remember to like and subscribe. Thank you. Now back to the video. Okay, I want to talk about this because this got a lot of pushback this weekend. So Tennessee has a very young quarterback, and he was making about $2 million. They were paying him $2 million when he was redshirting as a freshman to not play. And his name is, and I'll just call him Nico. He's got a long last name, and I don't want to butcher it. So I watched him play three or four. No, I probably watched him play 4 or 5 times last year against the better teams. He was a young quarterback, not overwhelmed, but misses open receivers. He's not Shador accurate, but he's also not draft eligible right now. He's going to grow, but he's a really nice talent. He's slender. He moves well. He's got a decent arm. And my take is, so he comes out this weekend and basically doesn't show up to practice and says, I want $4 million. And Tennessee, to their credit, is like, listen, we're not going to play that game. We're going to let him go. And I thought it would have been very difficult to hold out, not show up to practice, and come back. So I think the Volunteers made the right decision as a program to say, listen, this isn't going to work. This is a bad vibe. This is bad locker room smell here. We're moving on. I totally agree with that. But I wasn't necessarily bothered by the move because it is April, and coaches now are fetching $12 to $13 million in college football. So if a top quarterback wants four, I'm like, I'm not going to hate the player. You can hate the system. You can hate NIL, but I think this is what we're going to see. This is the way the game works now. I don't think it'll hurt him in the NFL. I think eventually, if he has a great year, people draft him. Everybody needs quarterbacks. Nobody cares. I mean, Caleb Williams had some emotional stuff people didn't like. Johnny Manziel had all sorts of it. There'll be a team that'll draft him that needs a quarterback. What do you make? What do you make of the kid doing it? What do you make of Tennessee's reaction?
forget the kid's name, but there's a pass rusher on South Carolina, the Gamecocks, who's like looks like a Clowney or just like a Myles Garrett.
Yeah.
That in the middle of the season, they had to up what they were going to pay him. And again, true freshman, he looks like he's got a chance to be like a #1 overall pick. I have no problem when you're an elite player renegotiating. Happens in pro sports all the time. What happened? Who holds out in the NFL? Micah Parsons, Nick Bosa, right? Justin Jefferson, Jordan, Jamar Chase. This guy did not have a good year. I'm with you. I watched a lot of him last year because Tennessee was good and they were in the mix. Had you heard of him in high school? Like he was one of the highly touted guys in LA.
Oh no. Yeah. Oh, I think he was the #1 quarterback, I believe, out of Los Angeles. So I watch all those guys tape on YouTube. Again, moves well, lively arm. I thought as a college quarterback, his accuracy was against, and again, I only watched the Tennessee games against the better teams, very hit and miss. Down the field, very hit and miss. But again, my takeaway is, okay, he's like a redshirt freshman.
Well,
I'm
here's
okay
my
with it.
issue with the whole thing is all reports have it it's his dad. They say pigs get fed, hogs get
Yeah.
slaughtered. Like you said, he got 4 years, $8 million without ever playing a snap. Where a lot of coaches, Kirby Smart does not give those type contracts to high school kids, right? A lot of the
Right.
top coaches, because it's not
Yeah.
good business. Tennessee did because I think he was like second or third overall recruit in the class. Arch was one. So I mean,
Yeah.
the hype was big, and that he got paid for it. I think he threw 20 touchdowns last year, and only 9 of them came in the SEC. He was not good in the SEC and against good teams. So to try to
Yeah.
renegotiate off a bad year to me is bad business. And Dan Lanning
Yeah.
turned him in essentially, like, hey, you're getting played.
Yes.
And I think some of these coaches, because again, he's not that good. If he was viewed as if he was draft eligible right now, he's not getting drafted in the top 100 picks. It's all projection and potential, but not off actual
Right.
play. And his dad, again, I think it was like 2.2 he was scheduled to make this upcoming year. What if this is one of those? I
Yeah.
forget the NBA player, but he like opted out and he thought he could get like $80 million, ended up getting like a 1 year, $8 million. What if he can't even get $1 million in the transfer portal? Because some of these coaches are going to go, well, he's a little overhyped. One, and we're going to try to make a statement for our business. That's why Dan Lanning called him,
Yeah.
right? This is because they're like, this is
Yeah.
insane. It'd be one thing if he was making $100,000 and like, hey, the going rate's $1 million, a couple $1 million, would totally get it. His dad, by all accounts, leading the charge. Someone needs to give that guy some business advice. Get Drew Rosenhaus because I think it's bad business. No issue if you're an elite player. If it's Drake May
Yeah.
a couple years ago or Ashton Genty, guys that could transfer and totally get it. This guy was completely underwhelming, Colin. This guy was, it's why I think Tennessee and most people university are like, this is nuts. This is just dumb business. $2.5 million to play average football in the SEC. They were a defensive team last year, which is ironic because Josh Heupel's their coach, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And if Josh Heupel's the coach, you would think it's one of those things where, like, when Shanahan couldn't make Trey Lance work and the Cowboys gave up a 4, it's like that's bad GMing. Josh Heupel, you would think, would be able to get the most out of this kid. I think one of the things the NBA, I never understood this about the G League. So let's not pretend this is the 50s, 60s, or 70s where basketball players are all starving, coming into college basketball. They're not. It's a suburb sport. AAU kids, the good players are all getting taken care of. Even before NIL, kids were getting swag, chefs.
Money.
They're getting treated great. I have yeah. So I never understood kids that went to the G League instead of going and playing for a top 6 program where you're on television 25 times. I know Zion because he went to Duke. Would you rather take $400,000 for the G League or $300,000 or take $35 million of free marketing and advertising for Duke? And people say, well, they didn't grow up with a lot of money. Again, it's a year. You're not asking them to take a 7-8 year hiatus away from money. Again, great AAU basketball players are getting taken care of. So I kind of feel the same way about the dad here. I don't blame the kid, but it's like, if you have one good year, if you come back to Tennessee and have 30 touchdowns, 8 picks, and you move well, you will be a first or an early second round pick next year because there's Arch Manning will go number 1. After that, there's about 5 guys, and they're all in the same class. It depends how the season goes. So I just think the dad lacks a certain self-awareness.
Which is understandable. A lot of these dads, a lot of human beings would not have any clue or knowledge what to do in this situation. If I was one of these people that had the opportunity to make millions of dollars, and now in this world where I can get real representation, I would have Tennessee, hey, could we get in contact with either CAA, Rosenhaus? I'd want someone real negotiating my thing. And I would imagine they're like, well, Carson Beck just got $4 million. Well, 2 years ago when Carson Beck had Ladd McConkey and Brock Bowers, a lot of us thought like this guy could be a first-round pick. He had a really, really good year.
Yeah, I did.
Now, I think most of us also thought Miami's kind of crazy. But some of these numbers that get thrown around, no one truly knows what's real or not. It's pretty clear, like it was concrete. This guy signed an $8 million 4-year deal. And if he came back in 3 years, he will have banked over $6 million in a no-state income state at, I don't know where Tennessee, like I don't have a great feel for their roster right now in April. I would guess it's a top 10 roster in college football, and they got a pretty good chance to compete. Yeah. So we'll have to see where this guy ends up, but it doesn't feel like Oregon and Ohio State are just lined up for the kid. So if he ends up losing money, not only would it be a bad business decision, a football decision, Tennessee's got to be on the short list of great places to be a young quarterback playing football in 2025, right?
Listen, I've learned over the course of my life is the young media always sides with the player because it's a good story and the narrative, they don't come from anything. We don't know that. Again, if you're the number 1 or 2 or 3 high school football quarterback in the country, you're getting taken care of by a lot of people. So I just think it's one of those situations. I don't blame the kid. And I think when I watched him, I thought, oh, yeah, I can see it. I mean, he's got talent. But
he's got no feel. He's got no feel
and
for
I will
the pocket.
Say, he doesn't. That's the you when you watch, like, you can say what you want about Shedeur Sanders. he has a feel. He's an accurate thrower of the football
Yeah.
under duress. Like you can tell he's quarterbacked a lot. And also, Shador is not a great enough athlete to make extra yards running around. He's had to make hay in the pocket. And by the way, his dad, Dion Smart, he's told that kid, you want to get rich? Don't be a runaround guy. Sit in the pocket and throw darts. I mean, Dion knows what the hell's going on. So when you watch Shador Sanders, you can clearly tell that he can see the field. He's super accurate. This kid's just
Huge arm.
talented. But yeah, but I do think the family needs to take a deep breath because I mean, if he's great, he'll get drafted. I don't think he's great. I just think he's talented.